Manuel. Thank you, Mr. Gennaro.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Eagle Bay. Dave, is this just you're just giving us a quick update?
Yes. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Could be that quick.
Basically, we went to the workshop and we had some questions from several of the planning board members that had to deal with traffic, and we had Phil Greeley there. We also updated everybody to the position we're in now. As for the rest of the world, we kind of got slowed up as we were moving through getting responses, but we have gotten responses from CSX, and we did our sewer investigation and created a report, and John O'Rourke reviewed that, and we have some comments to answer. We've discussed with Suez the extension of water and went into a contract, a signed contract with both on-site improvements and off-site improvements. And we've went to the ARB. We went to the ARB for signage, for banners, for the buildings themselves, the exterior of all 5 buildings, for the color of the walkway, and we're still in front of the ARB for the finishing work on the fishing pier, which includes a covered area at the end, and also for the lights. There was a question with the light color, and we found some material for that. And we did receive approval for the benches and the trash containers. So we moved forward, and what we're slated to do, we laid out a path at the workshop, and the intention is to deliver in electronic form a review document for the board and advisors to the board. That would be next week. And then we were going to ask for a special meeting in August just for the acceptance of that document, the final. And then we would move on to circulating that for the public and have a public hearing, and also move on with the site plan. And that would be some revisions according to the ARB and according to the board as we move forward, and also some of the revisions asked by your professionals as far as engineering and some other details. So that's where we're at, and we just wanted to get everybody together on the same page. And if there's any questions, Phil Greeley's on the line because there is usually some questions about the traffic on this, and any other questions we'd be willing to go through, and right. Hopefully next Wednesday or Thursday you'll have an electronic final to review.
All right. We'll go for comments. We'll go to the board. Anyone at the board have for comments right now that you want to ask Dave until we look at the documents?
You know, Tom, I'd just like to say a few things. You know, we're only allowed to have 3 board members, as we all know, at these TAC meetings. So I feel a lot of times the rest of the board is unaware of what's even going on, because maybe it's a lack of communication. Well, besides that. So I have a couple of questions that we talked about, and I'd like to just state them to put them on the record. And if they pop up to another board member, we could deal with them down the road. A couple of issues. Let's start with the lowering. Let me ask you this, Dave. What kind of agreement or notification do you get from CSX regarding lowering the road on Hunter Place?
We have 2 permits, actually 3 permits in. We need a lateral permit for the sewer. We have to replace the sewer underneath it, and that's an expedited permit. And we also have to upgrade the water that's underneath it, and that's an expedited permit. And the process of that was also lower the grade by 1 foot. There was some questions about lowering the grade, that it would make a puddle there. But in our site plan, we have a drain, a direct drain, a mainline drain from that area to the Hudson River, and the outlet of that is above high tide. So we're not going to create a puddle there. So we're going to meet the code for the height, and we'll also be able to fix a sewer break that's underneath it, and also upgrade the water line from Hunter into the site. As you see, there's plenty of water line improvements going on down there now on Hunter in that area.
Correct. Okay. Like I said, all my questions are going to be directed to the rest of the board having some knowledge. So you're stating you're going to have 3 different permits for the underpass or Hunter Road, whatever you want to call that thing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. My concern before always has been, you've had a traffic study, we had a traffic study regarding 9W on Tompkins Avenue, and you came up with the fact that you're going to monitor this area, going to put some money in escrow to cover traffic cost of about, it's either $100,000 or $170,000, if I'm correct. In all honesty, I've been on the planning board a long time. We've made a lot of mistakes. We always seem to go out and say, yeah, if it's going to happen, we have money sitting in the back pocket. And once we approve this, it'll never, ever happen. And it's always been a concern of mine because I'm in the area quite a bit. I feel it's going to be a serious consideration. So that's my feeling on that.
Are you talking about the traffic signal that may be needed in the future? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
May I respond to that?
Sure.
Well, basically, that's no different than exactly what you did for Commerce Bank. If you remember, Commerce Bank had a traffic report, and they questioned, the state did, further development in 9W would create a bad situation at Washburn's Lane, and there was money, and there was also piping put in for a traffic light, and that never met the count, so that was never installed. The second one was Stop and Shop. When we did Stop and Shop, there was cause for further development at the end of Hope would overload the right turn coming from Haverstraw. So that would be if you're coming up from Haverstraw past the Ford dealer, you want to make a right turn on Holt. There was money set aside for that improvement if it didn't meet the code. So basically what Phil's here to answer, he suggested that, well, I'll let Phil talk. Phil, you want to finish, please? Might have lost him, but basically
then let me comment, because
Yeah.
I've been kind of vocal about the 2 things you just brought up, being on the planning board for that amount of time. Number one, the whole traffic situation over at CVS and the now Sterling Bank, I was never comfortable with it. And in my personal opinion, and I'm not an expert with all your expert people with traffic and conditions like that, that's really not a good plan that we approved. And I'm there a lot. I go to both the bank and to CVS. You may get through the intersection, but after that, it's dangerous. Going back down to ShopRite, on the first entrance, when we make the left turn, that roadway should have went all the way to the northernmost part. That happens to be a dangerous spot because myself shouldn't do it, but I do it. I do come around between cars and almost get hit. So there's 2 safety issues that have bothered me from the beginning. And I'm trying to prevent that from happening with this project, because this project is enormous. So I'm just showing you my concerns. I know Jerry I don't know if Jerry's going to comment, he had some issues with the underpass on Tompkins, but at this point, these are the 2 issues that seem to be bothering me the most. Getting into the water with Suez and into the sewer situation and what kind of condition that's in. Again, you're going to have all these experts come in here, but I'm trying to live in the real world. And I'm not, being too negative. I'm just trying to be in the real world. So, you know where I'm coming from?
I just wanted to comment briefly because I've had several applications where this issue has arisen. We've put money in escrow, significant amounts. The escrow agreement calls for the study to be done within a certain period of time. The applicant and the municipality agree on the time frames that it should happen. And obviously, you know, the traffic stuff, our traffic people have to agree with yours. And the study will happen because our client will either want its money back if it's not warranted, or if it is warranted, you're going to want the light put in. So, but you know, as you know, DOT and whatnot, they only allow for lights where warrants are met. But we'll certainly do a study within whatever time frame that you want afterwards, and there will be a conclusion to it. You know, this is something that we've gone through, you know, with many applications. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Wait, sorry. Jared, you have any comment? Anyone else have any comment?
Well, if I may,
Yeah.
just on one portion of this, which is the traffic going through that tunnel with the various stop signs. I just have a visionary problem on when three cars pull up there at the same time, who has the right of way? And if everybody's just going to cooperate, somehow that's going to flow. I know that one down in Haverstraw, it's a two-way thing, not a three, and that has a light. That seems to work effectively. So what exactly is the plan for that underpass? Is it just the stop signs and revise that if it so warrants after set time expires?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman, Philip Greeley. So as part of what Dave and Amy were referring to, the quote after study, and you know, I understand the concern in terms of the traffic flow at both 9W and Tompkins and at the underpass. So at 9W and Tompkins, again, the state doesn't allow a traffic signal to go in unless it's warranted. And within 6 months of the occupancy of this development, another study will be done, and if it's warranted, that signal will go in. Similarly, at the underpass, in terms of the traffic flow at that intersection will be evaluated. We've already come up with a preliminary signal design where the signals would be located. It's very similar to other underpasses that are single-lane underpasses, and it would be implemented again if the volumes that we project are in fact met and there's any operating difficulties there. That will be a condition of any approval you have, and the monies would be put in escrow to not only cover the study, but to cover the cost of the installation. And we, as you know, would typically this is what's been happening in a lot of other municipalities. It's something that New York State DOT has embraced, especially on projects where they are not sure what traffic generation is going to be out there, much larger projects than even this. And it seemed to have been very successful because on locations where improvements such as signalization need to go in, the mechanism is there, and it's very easy for the board to enforce. You know, if the conditions are written properly and we have the appropriate bonding mechanism. So, you know, I've been involved with several of these, both on the developer side and also on the municipality side, and they've worked out very well. And the key is, I'll say, the language of how it's written into the approval conditions. We've outlined it in terms of what would be studied and how it would be designed to accommodate it. But I think that's the best approach here to handle both of these situations, because the traffic for the project needs to flow. And that's one of the other things that, from an applicant standpoint, he doesn't want a project where the traffic can't get to and from the project either.
Right. I understand. Okay. All right.
Yeah, if I can interject, Bill. when we talk about warrants, people think that, well, yeah, it does warrant the traffic light. When we talk about warrants, we don't mean that, yeah, the light should be there. A warrant is a point system where you have to meet a certain amount of points for the state to allow a traffic signal.
Right.
And we don't meet those. So even if we wanted to put a light there today, we wouldn't be allowed to. So what we're trying to achieve here is have the escrow money in case down the road that the state made a mistake and, there is more traffic than they anticipated, or it's more of a problem than they anticipated. There is funds to have this light incorporated. Years ago, if the state said, you don't meet the warrants, no traffic light, we approved it and went on our way. And then if a light was needed a year later, well, guess what? The taxpayers would end up footing the cost for the traffic light. So in this case, as we did with Commerce Bank, it wasn't CVS, it was Commerce Bank, the TD Bank now, that we took the money and actually had the conduit installed underneath the road. To this date, it hasn't been an issue, so we never installed the light. So it's kind of a belt and suspenders type of thing, where we have the escrow if needed down the road, versus just saying, okay, the state said we don't need a traffic signal, so approve it and walk away. So we're kind of protecting the residents in the town, that at least the applicant will have to fund the light down the road if it's required.
Okay, Bill, thank you.
Mute yourself.
Tom, you have to unmute yourself.
I guess with Jerry and Gene's concerns, I have the same concerns with that, with the traffic and the Hunter place. But Hunter is the only underpass you're working on. You're not doing anything with Tompkins, like lowering or anything.
Correct. Hunter's the only one.
Hunter's the only one. And Hunter, I know one of the concerns was people coming out of Hunter and going, like walking right into the parking lot. But I know we talked about that when they come out of Hunter, they'll stay to the right, go along a walkway and come closer to where the first building is to go near where the restaurant will be. So they'll have a easier walkway down to like the river access.
Correct. That's one of the things, the modification that Max wanted to get to the promenade, and we agreed to.
All right. For me right now, I know those are the same concerns I had with Jerry and Gene. Anyone else? Max, anything right now?
I've been working with the applicant on my comments on the FEIS. We had a bunch, and I've been speaking with Ramya from Dave's office to try and that all the comments are addressed. At this time, other than that, I don't have any further questions or comments, and I'll wait until a revised FEIS is provided.
Thanks, Max. Any other comments, John? Anything right now? Did I lose John?
No, well, actually, it did. My battery died, so I switched to my phone. But I have, same as Max. We gave them a list of our comments. We're waiting for the response. So for the moment, we're all set.
All right, good.
I got a quick question.
All right, Mark.
I came in a little late to the planning board here. This has been going on for a year plus, and I only came in the beginning of this year. And David said something. There was a sewer study done. Has there been a capacity analysis done on the collection system and the treatment plant and the pump station down the road? And has Suez provided a letter of intent and their willingness and ability to provide water, and same with ONR? Utilities coming in and leaving the facility, that's all been thoroughly studied?
Yeah, as I said, we did supplied a report on the sewer system. There were some questions from John. We went to Roy, and we also talked to Carl to get some more answers, and we're going to, that'll be part of the final, so everybody could review it. As far as the water, there's a contract, there's a signed contract that'll be in the final for the improvements. And yes, utilities will be brought in underground to service the site. Our problem is getting these permits, as we cannot move forward on permits until after a final approval. That's the Ed Day law. Some people don't understand it, but Ed Day passed a law, your county exec, that you cannot apply for permits until after final, and you have to provide the final resolution. So the best we can do at this point is say that everybody's going to service. And if something happens later on, we would have to come back to you. But we've thoroughly studied it, and we do have the services.
All right. And John O'Rourke has more information on this if I need to talk to somebody further?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He actually asked for about the same things you did, more details on the pump station and what's the treatment. And we tied that into our 2-week study where we had a rain gauge, and it's all tied together, and you can see the effect of infiltration into the sewer system of Stony Point.
Okay, cool.
And realize what we're doing at our end, Baymar is going to do at their end, and you're talking about quite a bit of pipe being replaced and bringing the system up to a better grade.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Dave. So what do we, Steve, do you have any comments before we go?
No, I don't.
So
Well-
Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, Bill, I just want to make a couple points. I know I spoke before, so you probably skipped me, but anyway.
Nah, I didn't skip you.
We got to keep in mind a couple things. The Hunter Place underpass, if you remember what Dave said about the expedited permits for the water and sewer, the reason they're expedited is because there are existing facilities that have to be repaired, replaced. The lower end of the tunnel or the underpass or overpass, the reason for that is for fire emergency vehicles. The code requires that it be 13.6. So that permit is probably going to be a little more involved than the other two permits. And as Dave said, you're not going to get them until after approval. And if they don't get the permits for them, obviously the project doesn't happen. So that you know, the way the building code reads is that this size project, you need 2 separate emergency vehicle accesses. So one is Beach Road. We're not even counting Tompkins Avenue Tunnel. One is Beach Road and one is Hunter Place. Because they're both remote from each other. If you use Tompkins Avenue, one thing, it doesn't have the height, and the second thing, it's not remote enough from Beach Road to count. The other thing is, you know, we all get tied up in this, the environmental end as far as the FDIS and the DEIS and all that. But the board has to, you know, we have to remember that we still have a site plan review. So not only should we be focusing on the environmental end, which we're pretty far into, but now's the time to really look at the plan and, you know, see if there's any issues with the site plan that you have issues with. It'd be traffic flow, you know, all positions of buildings, the public areas. We spoke in depth about the north end of the property, putting the easements in there. So if it's ever done in the future, you can continue the greenway from where the parking lot starts up on the north end, where you can get to the battlefield. We spoke about that in depth. So, you know, we should also be focusing on a site plan at this part. You know, I'm bringing this up because what Gene brought up a good point, that we discuss a lot of this stuff at the TAC meetings. So when a plan comes before the planning board, it's been revised from the comments we've made at the TAC meeting. But a lot of the planning board members because, we do have full-time jobs elsewhere, can't make all the TAC meetings. So it's, for the members that might not be so up on the site plan, we really still need to focus on the site plan. It's come a long way from the beginning, but I'd hate to get to the end of the environmental review and then someone come up and say, oh, well, that building, shouldn't be there. It should be moved, 30 feet this way. And so, I'm just bringing it up that we should be looking at the site plan also.
All right, good. Thank you, Bill. So Dave, what do we do? Next for August, what are we going to do? The DEIS?